They call this place the Mountain, a colossal mound built from everything a city no longer wants to see. Just beyond Jakarta's skyline, it rises like a warning that nothing discarded ever truly disappears. Here, the ground exhales the heavy warmth of decay. Thick swarms of flies drift above spoiled vegetables, torn mattresses, shattered plastic, broken furniture, and greasy car parts. Discarded medical waste lies hidden among it all. On this patchwork of refuse, thousands of people, men, women, and children, spend their days searching for anything they can sell to survive. This isn't some remote wasteland hidden behind fences. Bantar Gebang sits only a short drive from Indonesia's capital, yet it remains nearly invisible to the rest of the city. Every morning, convoys of garbage trucks rumble in from Jakarta and neighboring towns, unloading thousands of tons of fresh trash. Over time, this landfill has become much more than a dump. It is an unofficial settlement, an entire community clinging to what others throw away. Among these towering hills of waste, families are born, children grow up, and life unfolds in the shadow of constant hunger and disease. Children learn to recognize valuable scraps before they learn to read. Women work from dawn until long after dark, without clean water, electricity, or any guarantee of safety. And no matter how hard people struggle to keep going, the mountain rises higher every day. This is the story of Bantar Gebang, a place where poverty, pollution, and injustice have merged into a single landscape few are willing to look at for long. But behind every bag of trash tossed away in an air-conditioned mall lies a human life slowly being buried. Tucked into the industrial edges of Jakarta, Bantar Gebang has become the largest landfill in Southeast Asia, an unofficial extension of the city itself. Sprawling across more than 110 hectares, it covers an area so vast it could swallow nearly 200 football fields. Seen from above, it resembles a giant patchwork quilt stitched together from decades of neglect and overconsumption. This landfill wasn't always here. In 1989, the land was still rice fields, farmed by people who depended on the soil for food. But as Jakarta's population ballooned past 34 million, the city's waste had to go somewhere. What was once farmland gradually transformed into a towering monument to everything the metropolis discards. Every single day before dawn, convoys of garbage trucks thunder down narrow roads from Jakarta, Bekasi, and Depok. By sunset, between 6,500 and 7,500 tons of trash have been dumped here, equivalent to over 1 million garbage bags in just 24 hours. And every morning, the mountain is a little taller. Local and national officials have repeatedly promised to close Bantar Gebang, or replace it with modern waste-to-energy solutions. Yet these pledges rarely move beyond announcements. Instead, the landfill keeps expanding. Satellite imagery from 2025 showed that in just 2 years, the garbage mass had grown by nearly 10%, spreading across nearby land and creeping dangerously close to residential areas. Bantar Gebang is no longer simply a place to bury trash. It has become a living, breathing symbol of a city unable to keep pace with its own excess. And for the thousands who now depend on it for their livelihood, it is the only place left where survival feels possible, even as the air grows heavier with decay, and the ground shifts under the weight of everything Jakarta no longer wants. Beneath the shimmering heat rising from Bantar Gebang, an unseen city has slowly emerged. It isn't built from glass or steel, but from warped plywood, torn tarps, and the resilience of people with no other options. Between 6,000 and 20,000 individuals now call this landfill home. For them, it is not a temporary camp. It's a settlement shaped by necessity. They are known as pemulung, waste pickers, who spend long days sifting through mountains of trash for recyclables to sell. Plastic bottles, scrap metal, copper wire. Their shelters are patched together from whatever the garbage yields: old advertising banners, rusted nails, cracked planks. From a distance, these makeshift homes almost disappear into the contours of the waste itself. There is no power, no clean water, no sanitation. Flies swarm constantly in the sour air. Yet, life finds its own routines. Abandoned sofas become cafes where tea is poured for coins. A cleared patch of dirt turns into a volleyball court. Once a week, a scavenged projector lights up an open-air cinema, and each day, the call to prayer echoes across the hills of refuse, a fragile reminder of order amid chaos. Most who live here came from rural Java, driven by debt, hunger, or the simple reality that there was nowhere else to go. Some were born among the trash and have never known another life. "I couldn't eat when I first arrived," says Dai, a young man in his 20s. "The smell was like spoiled milk and something dead, but over time, you get used to anything." For many, Bantar Gebang is not only a workplace, it is the only place left where they can afford to exist, even if it means building a life on top of everything the city has thrown away. If surviving here is hard for anyone, it is doubly harsh for women. Nearly 40% of the scavengers at Bantar Gebang are women, many of them single mothers raising children amid the waste. There are no toilets, no walls, no privacy. Most must relieve themselves behind trash heaps, shielded only by scraps of plastic or cardboard. During menstruation, it gets worse. Without sanitary pads, they use rags pulled from the garbage, never knowing what stains or substances remain. Bathing is rare, sometimes impossible. A single bucket of water may serve an entire family. When night falls, fear replaces exhaustion. With no electricity, the settlement becomes pitch black. Flashlights are scarce. Many women dread walking alone, knowing harassment and assault often happen in the darkness. There is no police patrol, no safety net, no number to call. Still, they endure. Each dawn, women tie babies to their backs and walk into the trash, working 12 or 14 hours with bare hands. At night, they cook salvaged food, wash children in reused water, and prepare to start over again. In this place, built from what society discards, women carry the heaviest burden, living lives that remain unseen, navigating between danger and duty, and proving every day that survival requires not just endurance, but an unrecognized kind of courage. When food becomes a luxury, survival demands whatever can be found. In the shadow of Jakarta's skyline, families in Bantar Gebang don't shop or cook in any ordinary sense. They scavenge. Each morning, adults and children climb the heaps of waste, searching for scraps of food thrown out by hotels, supermarkets, and restaurants. They call it naja, leftover rice. Whatever looks edible is sorted by hand, rinsed, boiled again, and shared. Soft vegetables, chicken bones with scraps of meat, fish that smells nearly safe. Once in a while, there is a small triumph, a sealed snack, or an unopened carton of milk. Often, there is nothing. But hunger leaves little room for choice. Eating this way carries obvious risks: stomach infections, parasites, chronic malnutrition. With almost no health care, people rely on herbal remedies or simply wait to get better. Neela, a mother of 3, cooks over a wood fire behind her shelter. "If it looks okay and smells okay, I'll take it," she says. "We've had no problems yet." For many here, this isn't even called poverty anymore. It's just how life works. Over time, what feels unthinkable becomes routine. Some find a strange pride in their endurance. "People used to ask how I could live like this," one man said. "They said I stank, but when they saw I earned more than they did, they stopped asking." Most scavengers make about 30,000 rupiah a day, barely enough for a single hot meal in the city. Children, some as young as 5, grow up learning to spot valuable plastics rather than learning to read. Here, food isn't chosen. It's recovered, reheated, and hoped for. a daily negotiation between necessity and dignity. Childhood in Bantar Gebang doesn't begin with toys or classrooms, it begins with garbage. Here, every small hand is needed to help the family survive. Most children never get the chance to simply be kids. School is a distant luxury. Uniforms, books, and bus fares cost more than many parents earn in days of sorting waste. By age 5 or 6, children join their parents in the landfill, working from dawn to dusk. They quickly learn how to recognize the shape and color of valuable plastics, long before they can read or write their names. Injuries are constant, cuts from broken glass, punctures from rusted metal, or needles hidden in the trash. With no proper care, even small wounds can turn dangerous. More quietly, many children escape hunger and hopelessness by inhaling cheap glue, a habit that steals both health and futures. A few local groups have set up makeshift classrooms, small huts where volunteers try to teach basic lessons amid the roar of garbage trucks. But education here is fragile, often interrupted when a child is needed to help fill the day's quota. For most, the idea of a different life, with safety, learning, and choice, feels far away, almost imaginary. What should have been temporary becomes permanent. Childhood dissolves into labor, and the promise of what these children could have become is buried under mountains of waste. The health crisis at Bantar Gebang doesn't end with the people living on its slopes. It spreads quietly into the soil, water, and air far beyond. Underneath the trash, methane gas builds up, ready to ignite. Fires have erupted without warning, sending thick, toxic smoke into nearby neighborhoods. When the wind shifts, entire communities miles away breathe haze that stings the eyes and chokes the lungs. Below ground, leachate, dark, foul-smelling liquid, seeps into rivers and wells. Many residents report their water tasting bitter or smelling rotten, but for most, there is no alternative. Respiratory infections, stomach illnesses, and skin rashes have become common. Health workers see the rise, but official records remain sparse. Few authorities are willing to admit the scale of contamination. Hidden in the trash lies another danger: medical waste dumped without any separation. Used syringes, bloody bandages, expired drugs, all mixed in with everyday garbage. Indonesia has thousands of hospitals and clinics, yet fewer than 100 facilities can safely treat medical waste. Investigations have uncovered illegal dumping on military land and hospitals selling waste to recyclers. With no effective controls, garbage trucks deliver everything: diapers, plastic, syringes, to the same mountain each day. And so the pile grows, along with invisible costs, disease, poisoned water, and a future shaped by neglect. In the end, this isn't just about those forced to live in the shadow of trash. It is about an entire society quietly absorbing the consequences of what it refuses to manage. In Bantar Gebang, waste is more than a burden. It's a mirror reflecting deep inequality. Every day, thousands of tons of trash arrive from Jakarta's wealthiest neighborhoods. High-rise apartments, malls, and offices generate mountains of garbage, which vanish from sight as soon as the trucks drive away. No tracking, no fines, no accountability. But the trash doesn't disappear. It simply travels to the edges of the city, where the poorest families must sort it by hand. They inhale toxic fumes, drink polluted water, and risk cuts and infections every time they tear open a bag. Indonesia still lacks a national system to separate waste. Everything, rotting food, electronics, chemicals, even medical waste, gets piled together. At the end of this chain are the waste pickers, working without gloves, insurance, or any safety net. They are the last defense in a system designed to protect the comfortable and erase the invisible. Officials praise the idea of a circular economy, but in reality, these promises rarely leave the page. Implementation is patchy, underfunded, and mostly symbolic. This is not the failure of those who survive among the trash. They did not build the system, and they gain nothing from it. They simply carry the cost of a disposable culture they had no part in creating. As long as the privileged can consume endlessly without consequence, it will always be the poor who pay. Not just with money, but with their health, their dignity, and the years of their lives. Amid the overwhelming scale of Bantar Gebang, small efforts are quietly pushing back. Not through sweeping government reforms, but through grassroots determination. One of the most inspiring stories belongs to Rara Bernard, a woman who spent her childhood watching green rice paddies disappear under the weight of Jakarta's trash. As a child, she was teased in school for the sour stench that clung to her clothes. Instead of leaving forever, Rara chose to return, armed with an education and a vision to change what she could. She founded the BGBJ Center, short for Seeds of Bantar Gebang, a community space offering after-school programs and creative workshops for local children. Her goal was simple but powerful: to break the cycle of poverty by showing kids a world beyond the landfill. BGBJ also runs a small guest house, giving volunteers, researchers, and visitors a chance to see life at the edge of Jakarta's waste crisis firsthand. In a modest recycling studio, women and young people learn to turn discarded materials into handmade household products, items sold to generate income for the community itself. Recently, Rara partnered with Arby, a social enterprise that transforms plastic from Bantar Gebang into building materials. Each recycled panel carries two kinds of value: a second life for waste and a measure of dignity for the people who collect it. But despite these bright spots, their reach is limited. The garbage keeps arriving by the truckload, day after day. And for most residents, survival still depends on sorting waste with bare hands. While these small projects prove that change is possible, the larger system remains untouched. The communities here are still waiting for serious action. Real investments, real policy shifts, real support. So far, those hopes remain suspended in promises while the mountain continues to grow. The towering waste of Bantar Gebang is more than a landfill. It is a visible consequence of Jakarta's failed experiment in urban growth. For decades, the city expanded outward with little long-term planning. Today, Jakarta faces a perfect storm of crises: choking traffic jams, toxic air pollution, yearly floods, and sinking land caused by unchecked groundwater extraction. In response, the Indonesian government made a historic decision: to move the nation's capital to Nusantara in East Kalimantan. The new city is marketed as a sustainable, smart metropolis, a symbol of a fresh national beginning. But while politicians, ministries, and elite institutions prepare to relocate, millions of poor residents are left behind. For families living beside Bantar Gebang, the trash still arrives by the ton. The air still stings the eyes and fills the lungs. The inequality remains unchanged. This is not an isolated disaster on the city's fringes. Bantar Gebang is the direct outcome of an urban model that quietly exports the costs of progress to people with no power to refuse. In Jakarta's wealthy districts, consumption never slows. Residents discard food, packaging, and electronics without a thought. Out of sight, it becomes the burden of those who sort it by hand, families who inhale the fumes, drink the polluted water, and watch their children grow up in the shadows of decay. The move to Nusantara may signal ambition and optimism at the national level. But it also sends another message to the people still living on garbage: you are not part of the future we are building. Until this divide is confronted head-on, Jakarta's shadow will keep spreading, even as the capital's name and location change. Indonesia now finds itself walking a dangerous tightrope, caught between two growing forces: an exploding waste crisis and intensifying climate extremes. As the world's second-largest plastic polluter after China, Indonesia generates millions of tons of unmanaged garbage each year. Most of it ends up in open dumps or flows into rivers, like the 6,700 tons that arrive daily at Bantar Gebang. But climate change is turning these mountains of trash into something even more dangerous. Prolonged droughts dry out decomposing waste, causing toxic leachate, black, foul-smelling liquid, to overflow into farmland and waterways. At the same time, sudden downpours and flash floods are growing more frequent across Java and Sumatra, threatening deadly landslides. In August 2023, the Sarakti landfill in West Java partially collapsed after days of heavy rain, blocking roads and halting waste deliveries. Though no one died, the incident revealed how unstable these sites have become. Just months later, in January 2025, torrential rain and landslides struck Pakatan in central Java, killing more than 20 people and displacing hundreds. While not all damage was caused by trash alone, the combination of poor land planning, overwhelmed drainage, and enormous waste piles painted a grim picture. The memory of the Luvigaja landfill disaster in 2005, in which nearly 150 people died when a garbage mountain collapsed, still haunts Indonesia. Bantar Gebang is growing ever larger, and its unstable slopes could be the next headline unless serious action is taken. This is the climate trap Indonesia faces now, waste and weather magnifying each other. The question remains, will the government act urgently, or will they wait again until another disaster forces the world to pay attention? Bantar Gebang is not just a landfill. Behind every plastic bag tossed aside in an air-conditioned mall, there is a child picking through the dirt for something to eat. Behind every moment of convenience, there is a mountain growing, one truckload at a time. The people who live here are not statistics. They are survivors, mothers, fathers, children, all trying to build a life from what the rest of the world discards. They did not choose these conditions. They inherited them. They endure them because there is nowhere else to go. This place stands as a reminder. The cost of our consumption is never evenly shared. And no matter how far away we push the waste, it never truly disappears. The question is, will we look away, pretending this mountain is someone else's problem? Or will we finally do something, however small, to recognize the dignity of those forced to live at the edges of what we throw away? If this story moved you, consider sharing it. Subscribe to the Discovery Travel Channel, where untold voices and hidden places are never ignored.